Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Nate Almighty, and welcome to my first Euphoria video as I give you my review and recap for Euphoria Season 3, Episode 1. My review will be slightly different as I'll be going from character to character, breaking down what happens to each character throughout the course of the episode. Some characters will be broken down in pairs, like when I get to Nate and Cassie's breakdown, since they share most of their scenes together in this episode. So if you're a Euphoria fan like me, then you will no doubt love this video. Now go ahead, like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel because this video is going to be another banger. Now without further ado, let's start this review off with the main character of the show, mine and your favorite drug addict, Rue. Now, from the moment the episode started, I could already tell that Rue was a drug mule. Being that I just finished watching seasons 1 and 2 twice. It was that entertaining. You already understand that Rue got some money from Lori, and by the end of the episode, she did not deal with that situation. So when episode 1 begins, and she's in what looks like Mexico, and she's having these issues with the car and everything, and she's going over gates and walls and stuff and meeting random people. By the way, I believe the whole car scene was a symbolism of her trying to find balance in her life. Whereas she was holding herself back. She couldn't really get herself to the front, but then the bird came and the bird balanced it. Before the bird left the car, I feel like that was symbolism for her trying to find balance in her life. Now, in the middle of her picking up these drugs and transporting it to Lori, she meets this family. This religious family. They're Christians. They're basically like Mormons, but they're not Mormons. Maybe they are. But because the father didn't have a real big beard and they're in Texas, I don't think they're Mormons. Now, this gives us a plot reveal that lets us know that throughout the course of the season, Rue is going to be trying to find God, or she will find God without trying, or she will just begin to get closer to her spirituality. Now, in the middle of her being a drug mule for Lori, by the way, she started off owing Lori $10,000, and with interest, she now owes Lori $100K, which is why she's a drug mule. Now, where we pick up at the story, she's been doing about a dozen drops, and she hates it. All the money that she makes from being a drug mule, or rather, in order to pay off Lori, she has to be a drug mule. In order to make her own money, she does Uber. Okay, now, she decides to bring Faye along. Faye is the very unnaturally big-lipped white girl who we met, and she was in Fezco's house. We will get more to Fezco later on. But anyways, she's coming along. She's a drug mule as well. They're doing their thing. Faye is getting closer to a member of Lori's family. That's the plot to look out for later on in the episode. Now, in the process of all of this, they show us all the aspects of working for the cartel, drug family. Not sure, it hasn't been specified, but this includes swallowing balloons, transporting vehicles, bagging up pills, etc. Now, as far as Rue's sobriety, right? She seems to be sober, even though she's surrounded by all the temptations that come with being a drug mule. She cares more about her life than getting high, but she was pretty much trying to get back sober by the end of season 2 anyway. Now, what I also want to talk about is, at some point in the middle of the episode, Rue makes it back in town, and she is talking with her sponsor, a man whose name I currently forgot. I just smoked some weed and I fried a couple brain cells. But anyway, they discuss spirituality. And she has the task of finding a purpose higher than herself, which is supposed to be God, and then dedicating her life to it. Like I said, this hints that during the course of Euphoria season 3, she will be getting closer to her spirituality, right? Likely ending in her being saved and really staying on drugs. That's likely what's going to happen by the end of the episode, right? Boring, predictable, but that's probably what's going to happen, right? Overall, Rue, she visits Lexi. I'm going to speak on Rue visiting Lexi when we get to Lexi's part of the video. But as we fast forward towards the end of the episode, dealing with Rue, Rue does a delivery for Lori. She meets a man named Bishop. And if you watch my Power videos, you know that this person who plays Bishop also used to be in season 1 of Power, OG Power, right? So Bishop is this stoic, or maybe he's a little bit off, but a very serious man who is the bodyguard, one of the bodyguards for a man named Alamo. Now, if you watch the movie Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, then you know who Alamo is. Alamo is the guy who he killed 50 Cent's mom in the movie, right? And he gets killed later by a character played by Terrence Howard. Now, once Rue gets to Alamo's place, right? She sees a whole bunch of women. She gets familiar. This is way before she even meets Alamo. Alamo says, hey, who is this bitch getting familiar with my bitches? Bring her to meet me. They meet each other. They hit it off. They then begin to talk about a topic that is brought up in a book called The 48 Laws of Power, which is reinventing yourself, assuming a new identity, right? In an effort to become the person who you want to be. Like I said, to hit it all, she finds out that this man is basically a pimp and he owns some strip clubs / they selling crotch, right? So while they hitting it off, we also see that one of Alamo's girls has an overdose to whatever drugs Rue dropped off over there. It had fentanyl in it, and it's the fentanyl that causes the girl to have an overdose. Now, while Rue pleads for her life, she tells Alamo, like, hey, I want to change my life. I hate working for Lori. I was hoping that I could really be somebody. I had no intentions on doing this. I wouldn't even be here partying with y'all if I knew this was going to happen. Alamo, because Rue brings up God, Alamo says, oh, you believe in God? Let's see if God believes in you. Either I'm paraphrasing or that's exactly what he said. Then what will be known as a very legendary scene in Euphoria. They place a green apple. He places a green apple on top of Rue's head. Now Bishop tells her, hey bitch, you better be still. We gonna see if I want to rock with you or not. I guess if she lives, that means she meant to live and he'll do business with her or hire her or whatever. We'll see as the upcoming episodes go on. But anyways, Alamo shoots the apple. Rue lives. This is probably the beginning of Rue's spiritual awakening. The episode ends for her. But this review's not over. Let's now go to Lexi. In the middle of the episode, Rue goes to visit Lexi. Lexi now works in Hollywood as an assistant for a director. Now, she's developing a connection, right, to who I feel like is going to be a polarizing character. Once season 3 of Euphoria is over, and this is the talent. His name is Dylan. Now, Lexi is also currently building a familiarity with this person. He doesn't know her name, but he will get to know her name. My assumption is they're probably going to sleep with each other by the middle of the season, right? We still haven't seen Lexi really hook up with anyone. She almost hooked up with Fez, right? By the way, Fez, we probably get the only acknowledgement of Fez Code that we're going to get the whole entire season. They say, well, Rue was talking to Lexi, telling Lexi, hey, listen, you should call Fez. Fez says he misses you every day. Then they let us know that Fez Cole's serving 30 years in prison. My overall thoughts on the situation, by the way, there's not much more to deal with Lexi for the rest of this episode, right? But that lets me know that Fez is alive. You all know Fez is alive. In my opinion, I feel like that was a bad idea. Unless Fez being alive is very crucial and very important to the character development of Lexi this season, there is no point in saying that Fez Cole is still alive. Why? Because he died in real life. And he also got shot. They could have said that was a fatal wound. And just like Ashtray, they both died in the same situation. Anyways, let's move on to what I felt was the most important, not important, but entertaining part of the whole episode, which is Cassie and Nate. Now, how this begins is Cassie is doing some kind of dog play, trying to get TikTok famous. She's dressed like a dog. She's wagging her tail. She got a sneaker in her mouth. She looks very, very hot. Smoking hot. Smoking hot. Yes, I rewinded a couple things back a couple times. Yes, I sure did. Yes, sir, Dean K, sir. We are immediately introduced to what will be a main conflict between Nate, right, and Cassie throughout the course of the season, right? Which is that Cassie wants to be somebody that goes against what Nate's ideal and vision of his woman is, okay? She wants to be TikTok famous. She's showing her goods all over the internet. Nate doesn't like it. Nate, by the way, has his father's business. He's running the business, working on making it an even bigger business than it is, a multi-million-dollar business. Some kind of retirement home, luxury retirement home for boomers, right? Now, because he's running this business, he has been living a little bit more frugal in the house, and Cassie has a problem with that. Her idea is this: instead of getting a regular job, right, I'm going to show my goods and become an influencer. Nate is totally against it. However, he really loves Cassie. By the end of the episode, Cassie says, hey, my floral arrangements for our wedding that we're supposed to have is going to cost $50K, right? Nate is like, hey, bitch, we can't do that. She's like, we can do that. I could just start an OnlyFans. So Nate is like, so you want to be an adult film star? She's like, no, I'm going to do an OnlyFans. I don't want to have a ghetto wedding, blah, 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 blah. And to me, in my opinion, right, Cassie is being a super bitch. Okay? The fact of him paying all the bills, taking care of you, right? You have a maid. You don't even really have to cook yourself, right? You don't really have to do anything, laundry, anything. You basically get to just lay up, right, and be a stay-at-home wife. You're upset with this man and putting this man in a mental bind, giving him mental strain because you're worried about $50,000 for some floral arrangements, which definitely reminds us of the scene she had around with all the flowers in season 2. My thing is this, like, girl, you couldn't even settle for $25K? She basically tells Nate, we're going to have a problem if you're not going to pay for this, right? So Nate, first of all, she gaslights Nate into agreeing with it. He says, hey, just separate your face from everything that's going on. I personally feel like she's not going to do that, or she's going to start off doing that and not going to do it because she wants more clout, and it's going to cause friction for them, right? She's not an ideal wife, the kind of woman that Nate wants. He really wants a woman that's, well, he likes women that are opposite of what he really, really thinks that he wants. Now, they will not last. That's my overall thoughts on that. It was very entertaining to watch, though. I also feel like the trajectory and the roles have reversed in season 3, whereas season 2, You could tell that Cassie cared more about Nate than Nate cared about Cassie. Now it appears that Nate cares more about Cassie than Cassie cares about him. Somehow, some way, the power dynamics change. That's my overall thoughts. Next, first of all, I want to say the only thing we got about Jules is that Jules is supposedly a sugar baby. Also, all these people are in California now. Now, they didn't specify what state their homes and high schools were in season 1 and season 2, but now, because of plot, they're all in California. Of course, they're all going to run into each other before the season is over. But last but not least, let's talk about Maddie, right? Beautiful, stunning, super hot Maddie. Maddie, where we picking up now, she is a manager of talent that works for a talent agency, it appears to be. She manages the Dylan guy who Lexi is working with. Let's be looking out for a possible love triangle, maybe, right? But anyways, Maddie manages Dylan. She's rubbing shoulders with a couple stars, but she also isn't making enough money and does not live the life she always wanted. We have not really seen her have turmoil over this, but we know it is coming. But that's about it. That was my quick review of Euphoria Season 3, Episode 1. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Peace.